Guys, it's Zach. Long time no see. Actually, this video has a special occasion. My friend Jeremy, who I know from YouTube and Facebook, who's from Canada, did a video tonight that inspired me to do a video about this, and it clicked some things in my head and put things in perspective. For those who don't know, Sailor Moon is coming back with a brand new dub, uncut, from Viz Media. And a lot of people are up in roars and causing death threats and a whole bunch of things that are ridiculous because Viz did not get the original 90s cast to come back and reprise their roles. I look at this in a very special way. You have Sailor Moon Usagi, and you have Sailor Moon Serena. I look at them as two separate people. What do I mean? Let me compare it to something that might make a little more sense. Let's take a look at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1 and Super Sentai Series 16 Kyoto Sentai Zyuranger. You have Tommy, the Mighty Morphin Green Ranger, who loses his powers when the green candle runs out, and he loses powers, passing on his powers to Jason, then getting his powers back, and then losing them, then becoming the White Tiger Ranger, then the White Falcon Ranger, and then Red Zeo, Red Turbo, Black Dino Thunder. Then you have Barai, whose green candle runs out, and passes his powers onto Geki, the Red Tyranno Ranger, right before he dies, and goes on to the spirit world. That's it. He dies. He's no more. That's the end of the Dragon Ranger. You have Tommy, and you have Barai. Tommy's story is not Barai's story, and Barai's story is not Tommy's story. Mighty Morphin is based off Zyuranger, but Barai and Tommy are two separate people. One controls the Dragon Zord, one controls Dragon Caesar. One dies, one goes on and becomes a high school teacher. They have nothing to do with each other. Yes, they live side by side. They share a suit and a robot that looks alike. Other than that, they're two different people, two different stories. One's from Japan, one's from America. That's how I look at it with Sailor Moon. You have Serena, who's voiced by Tracy Moore and Terri Hawkes and Linda Ballantyne. And she becomes Sailor Moon and she fights the Negaverse. Then you have the Japanese voice actress, whose name escapes me, and Michelle Ruff, who played Usagi and fights the Dark Kingdom. And they each have their own group of friends and they each have their own stories. With Serena, her friends didn't die at the end of the first season. They were captured by the Negaverse. Usagi's friends, on the other hand, did die and became ghosts and ended up helping her, fight Queen Beryl. But Usagi isn't Serena, and Serena isn't Usagi. They're two separate people with two different stories. And you have to look at it like that. There's a lot of differences. One's an American adaptation telling one girl's story, and one's a Japanese interpretation telling that girl's story. Even, it occurred to me a few minutes ago, in the English version, Lita, who is Sailor Jupiter, her parents are still alive and wouldn't let her have a cat in the S season. And Makoto, who's Sailor Jupiter in the Japanese version, her parents died in a plane crash, if I remember correctly. So, that's another difference. These three women who played Serena are Serena. They tell Serena's story. And Michelle Ruff and the Japanese actress tell Usagi's story. So, they're side by side, but they're two separate people. my friend Jeremy was saying that he was worried about the Sailor Moon S movie. Well, you have Luna, Serena's cat, who is an older motherly figure, and that's her story. And then you have Luna, Usagi's cat, who is younger and kind of a girl, and that's her story. Serena's Luna and Usagi's Luna are not the same character, and they're going to have two different stories because they're two separate cats. Joe Frappier's interpretation is not going to be Michelle Ruff's interpretation, because Michelle Ruff is the Japanese interpretation and Joe Frappier is the American Luna interpretation. They're two separate cats owned by two different girls. And you have to look at it like that because it's not going to the same thing. Another thing that, worries me, or what I think about, is Molly and Nephlite's story. In the dub, at the end of Nephlite's arc, that story between Molly and Nephlite, when Nephlite dies, breaks my heart, and it's a tearjerker, and I cry every time. That might not be the same with Naru and Nephrite's story in the Viz version. I watched the subtitle version on Hulu, and when Nephlite dies, I didn't shed a tear. I was sad for Naru, but I didn't cry, and it didn't break my heart like Mary Long's interpretation of Molly, because Mary Long's interpretation of that character, and I went along with that character and her story of falling in love with this man that when he died it broke my heart. I might not get that same feeling with Naru and Nephlite's story, and that's okay. Naru is not Molly, and Molly is not Naru. It's two separate characters, two separate people who fell in love with two separate men. One from the Negaverse, one from the Dark Kingdom. And Mary Long is a wonderful actress, and she definitely pulls on the tears. And even comparing it back to Power Rangers, you have Rita Repulsa, who was a minion of Lord Zed and ended up marrying him. And then you have Bandora, who was trying to get revenge because she thought her son died. And, even in Jew Ranger, Scorpina and Goldar's counterparts got married and had a child, where Scorpina just kind of disappeared in Power Rangers until season 2 and then disappeared again. But I digress. Two separate characters, two different stories. And Viz is doing an interpretation of the Japanese series. Just like Power Rangers Wild Force and Power Rangers Samurai did an adaptation of Shinkenger and Galranger. They were semi-directly translated scripts, same storyline, minus a few small differences, aka purple pleated pants. But those were adaptations of scripts, just like Viz is doing, where Deacon Cloverway changed the story. John Stockard said when in an interview in an expo that he hoped the two series would live side by side for a long time. And they're two different stories. They're going to live side by side. You have Serena and Usagi, two different people. And I talked to Linda Valentine at Anime Expo, and for those who are hating on Linda Valentine, this is what I told her, and she said it made her very happy that I expressed this. You had Tracy Moore, who had Serena as a kid and a crybaby and young, and that was her kid stage.
Terri Hawkes
came in and grew up Serena a little more, made her a little bit more mature into the teenager, into the young woman. Then you had Linda Valentine, who made that transition from teenager, young woman to adult. And I told her, I said, I feel like you were the topping of that character. You were the finalized version of Serena. You were the cherry on top. You rounded out that character at the end as a woman, and I felt like that. Like, it was a growth. Each person that voiced Serena gave growth to that character, just like our voices change over time. So did Serena. Her voice changed. Usagi kind of stays who she is a little bit, and kind of grows over time, still staying kind of true to who she is. That's another way I look at the differences between that. Now, when it comes to the movies, like I said, I talked about the S movie. Our movie is probably my favorite. In the Deke Cloverway dub, I loved Fiore and Darian's story. I related to Fiore and not belonging and dealing with kind of what he was dealing with in a weird way. And my heart broke as he was expressing how he felt, and each of the Sailor Scouts related to that. I might not feel like that in the Viz version where whatever that actor does to relate his feelings. The Cloverway Fiore is not going to be the same as Viz and the Japanese Fiore. It's going to be two different characters. One has a history with Darien, one has a history with Mamoru. And I will probably connect with one more than the other. That's kind of how it is. So, for people that are all in hoop hop, calm down, take a deep breath, be happy that we're getting Sailor Moon back in the States. And remember, it's the beginning of a new legend, as Charlene Ingram says. And just enjoy it, and look at it as Tear and Tales. And my sister, I'll bring this in real quick, my sister had a movie a long time ago on VHS, and it was narrated by this old Asian guy, very famous, but he told, like, the tale of Beauty and the Beast from around the world, and one was from China, and one was from the Arctic, and they were this tale of Beauty and the Beast, but they were different interpretations, they were different stories, and it was different than what I knew Beauty and the Beast to be from Disney. The Arctic one involved a kayak, in the Arctic, and the one from China involved a bird. So they were different tellings of a story I knew. I'm looking as Viz's interpretation being a different story of what I know of Deke's Sailor Moon. So instead of being upset that people aren't coming back to reprise their roles, look at it as, oh, this is another telling of a similar character but a different person. Sailor Moon, Serena's Sailor Moon and Usagi's Sailor Moon are two different characters. They share a different story, share different fates. So sit back, relax, and enjoy what it is. So thank you for listening, and love you guys. God bless. And I will talk to you later. Hope this makes you feel a little bit better about what's to come.